another Canadian Immigration Live Q&A. Today, Tuesday, I think it's April, is it the 14th? These days are all meshing together. Yes, it's the 14th. These days are all meshing together, as I'm sure they are for many of you who are doing all you can to stop the spread of COVID-19 by self-isolating, staying put, and just doing your best to help curb and flatten the curve of infections in your country. We'll wait a little bit to see who's able to tune in. We've been having a little bit of issue with our YouTube channel, so I'm crossing my fingers that individuals that are joining in are going to be able to stay there. And I'll post this right now so you can see we are getting comments. So Shiva says, "Hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well." And then Atik is also connected, and you can see there's a bunch of other people that are connecting. And we also have some people that are tuning in with Facebook. One of the challenges we had last time is that after a few people posted comments in YouTube, then that was it. They weren't being posted anymore. So as you guys connect in, whether you're YouTube, whether you're Facebook, whether you're even Periscope, I'd love to hear from you. Let us know where you're tuning in from. It's so much more enjoyable to see how far these Canadian Immigration Live Q&As are reaching. Now, what is the purpose of this? Some of you are looking and watching this for the first time. The purpose is to try to answer questions, to give advice, free advice. As a Canadian immigration lawyer, it's not something that you usually see lawyers doing out there, let alone consultants and things like that. But this is something that I try to do to give back. Obviously, we're all here. We're kind of stuck in this crazy world of COVID-19, and it's really, it's making huge problems for people, both in Canada and outside. Can you travel? You know, how soon are you going to be able to travel? Is Canada, have they really stopped processing visas? And that's something that people are asking a lot of, and we're going to talk about that today in this live Q&A. Some people have sent in questions, and you can see here, I have a little bit of, I just adjust this a bit. I've got a little bit of a pixelation here in the bottom of my screen, but that's okay. It looks like the water is shimmering and waving down here. That's okay. So we're going to answer a lot of questions, and let's just pull it up here. We've got Ralph is here connecting in from YouTube. And I see Ralph is also watching on Facebook, which is kind of cool. Those of you who are out there in Periscope, I'd love to hear from you as well. Those of you who have questions, hold off on posting your question just yet. We'll get to those in a little bit. We're going to answer a few of the questions that were sent in by basically sending an email to info right here at holthelaw.com and putting live Q&A in the subject line. And then that, if your question is general in nature, is going to get you connected. Now, it's pretty cool here because we are seeing people. Karan says, "Hi, greetings from Delhi." I want you guys to post where you're tuning in from. Ralph, he's a fixture here. He's up in Edmonton. Awesome to connect with you, Ralph, and I hope you're feeling better. I know Ralph had a little bit of a trip to the hospital himself, not COVID-19 related, but it was still pretty serious, my friend. So hopefully things are going well for you. Let's see where everybody else is tuning in from. So Nilesh is tuning in from Sudbury, Ontario, and that's Facebook, of course. We got Diamond also, who is connecting in. We've got someone asking a question that's unknown. We have Vishnu from Dubai. We've got, let's see, who else do we have here? We've got Aksesh from Winnipeg. This is actually really cool because then you guys can see how badly I'm actually messing up everybody's names. So I apologize for that. Let's see here. We've got Steve is connected in. Great to connect with you, Steve. I'm not sure if we had Karen here from Delhi. So post where you're tuning in from. Let's just see. Let's see how far this little video is actually getting pushed. So let's see, we've got Narelle in Abu Dhabi. Welcome, Narelle. We've got someone that's unknown from Halifax. Let's see who else we have here. Let's see. We've got Abin from New Brunswick. Hopefully you're hanging in there. You're doing well. Let's see who else. Karen, I think we've got Karen from India. Then we've got Bluebirds Fly tuning in from Saskatchewan. That's fantastic. I'm really grateful that both the YouTube and the Facebook are working today. They seem like they are anyways. Let's see who else we have. Mahir is from Windsor. Then we've got someone, Michael from Nigeria. Great, Michael. Let's see, who else do we have? Sunil, India. We've got Mr. Sam Gaming, Sammy from India. Welcome, Sam. This is really cool. Al-Saba from Dhaka, Bangladesh. And I'll give a shout out to you, Karen. First time. Very cool, Karen. All right, let's see. Who else do we have? Abhishek is tuning in from his basement in Scarborough. Well, I can tell you, those of you who have basement apartments and you're having to stay put, oh, I feel for you. At least I have a little bit of sunlight shining through my window here in our home. But what a blessing it was. You know, back in December, I made a decision to change my office and to actually make it virtual. I did it for a number of reasons. One was to try to do what I could to reduce the cost of my services. And what better way to do that than to actually go virtual with my office? And then all of this happened. So I feel so fortunate that I did make that decision. Okay, let's see who else. Sudeep is Bahrain. Hi, Sudeep. Good to connect with you. And I'll have to post this one. Vishnu says, you nailed my name. Good vibes, good vibes. Awesome. All right, Steve, yes, Latvia. Thanks, Steve, for making that known. Asma is in Pakistan. Let's see. Ludhiana is Punjab. Welcome, Ludhiana. And Nithin is Chennai and Dubai. And let's see who else we have here. Bernard from Beirut. Awesome. Thanks for connecting, Bernard. We've got a great group of people here. Aaron's tuning in from Richmond, BC. You can see how many people. This is, we're just about up to 200 people. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to give shout outs to everybody, but we've got some interesting places here. Katamba's Uganda, Muhammad's Qatar. Alex is in the US. Good. We've got our connection, and he's giving a shout out to Igor. That's awesome. And I think you guys know Igor is now, he's like my right-hand man when it comes to putting this together. He's actually the one who stumbled upon Restream, which is allowing us to do these. Okay, Mr. Holthe, Iraq. So we've got an unknown person from Iraq. We've got someone from Pakistan here as well. That is an unknown. And obviously they've got their profile blocked, it looks like. Rohit is Baghdad. Jasmeet is India. This is actually really neat. Okay, I think we've just about come to the end. Chittagong, Ume, and we also have Katamba, Uganda. We've got a really, really good contingent of people here. Faisal is Pakistan, great. Bella, my dear, dear sister from another mother. Bella says, you look professional today. Well, you know what, guys? I think sometimes people don't take me seriously if I'm too casual. No, I like to be casual. I don't like to be too stuffy. That's definitely not what my intention is. But the reality is I definitely thought, you know what, today I'm just going to dress up a little bit. So I did. All right. Let's see. We've got Sherwin from Kurdistan. Kenza from Morocco. Asif, Pakistan. And then, of course, we've got Faryad, who's tuning in from Vienna, and Faryad is the web developer for our website. So big shout out to Faryad. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. We have Gletus, Colombia. Wow, this is great. Bilal, Pakistan. We have Ganesh Sharma saying hello. All right, guys, I think we've covered a ton of places. Oh, we've got Sunita from South Africa. We haven't had a South Africa. We've got Mohammed from local here, Toronto. Well, I'm on the other side of the country, but Canada local. JP from Nepal. Someone's tuning in from Muskoka. All right. Wow, this just keeps going and going. Some of you are probably wondering, Mark, just get on with it. You're giving enough shout outs. So there are a ton of people all over who have continued to post. So big shout out for all of you. And I'm just going to start reading them. Bangladesh, Pakistan, Bahrain, Brampton. Actually, we'll give a big shout out because they put the flag there for Baljinder. And Saida is Pakistan. Siri is Nigeria. UM is Nigeria. We've got a good Nigerian contingent today. Very cool. Oh, big shout out to Marine from Guyana. My son just came back from Suriname, which is just close to it. So hope things are well for you guys and that everything with your election and everything on top of COVID is all settled down. So hope things are good for you. And Tawib is Saudi Arabia. They're tuning in from there. And let's see. Okay, wow, it's just keep going and going. So I'm actually quite amazed at how many people. We've got Chidi from Regina. Okay, so we're going to stop there because we're over 200 people, and I'd love to give everybody a shout out, but the reality is just not possible. So my apologies for those of you. Next time I will try to catch you and give you a shout out as well. I want to extend, as always, a sincere well wishes for you and your families, that you're safe, that you're doing your best, like I said, to try to curb this crazy coronavirus that's just ravaging our world. And I want all of you to know that you're in the thoughts and prayers of my family. And yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that we're thinking about you no matter where you are in the world. Obviously, conditions are different in many other countries. And so I just wanted to take the time just to give you a big, huge shout out and just say, you know, that we're thinking of you. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start off with some questions that I have that have been sent in via email. And so I think at this stage, we don't have any personal identifying information other than their names. So sometimes it's just easier to flip it over. So I'm going to go through a few of these questions. We're going to answer them as quick as we can. And then once we've done that, what I'm going to do is then I'm going to open it up to all of you amazing people who are watching live. We're not going to take too much time because I want to make sure that we give as much time as possible to all of you. So don't post your comments just yet. I'll let you know. And then once I say start posting, then I'll start reading them from the top down. Remember, a couple little rules of engagement for all of you guys. Remember that the questions need to be general in nature, that are going to benefit, you know, the over 223 people that are watching live right now. And there are thousands that watch this as recording. But big, huge shout out to everyone, and for even joining and being a part of this. And I'm going to try to do all that I can to make this as useful as possible. Once again, I'm Mark Holthe. I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. I practice right now out of my home in Lethbridge, Alberta, where I have my family with 4 kids and my dear wife, and we've all been home here spending some amazing time together. There's been some huge benefits from being forced to just slow down and just reflect on what's important in life. And so as we see everything transpiring, there's nothing but negative stories all over the place. But I also want to celebrate the positives, which is rekindling with our families and just remembering what's truly important in life. So hold off in your comments. We'll get to those in just a little bit. I'm going to share my screen with you guys now, and you're going to see the questions, and I think this will help. So now when it comes to this, let's see if we can just make this a little bit bigger. And then, because I want it to be visible for all of you, I'm going to really enlarge this. Okay, I've got it maxed out here. So I think that should work for you guys when we're trying to see it. I'm also going to take this and I'm going to close that off, which is a messy bunch of other stuff that I'm working through. Actually, sometimes when I'm working through this, I've got a ton of stuff that's showing up on my screen. And like I said, it's always challenging trying to balance everything. Okay, so here we go. Let's start with the first question. So this one is from Ria. And she says, "Hello, Mark. I'm Ria Sharma from India. Hope you're fine. My question is related to claiming points for foreign work experience." Okay, so this is an express entry question. I have a total of 3 years of work experience. One is 19 months and the other 17 months. I have experience letters from both companies, meeting all the requirements. Great. While proving work experience, should I provide all 3 years of bank statements of my salary account? One of my employers hadn't paid me regularly. During the first 2 months, I was paid once, so my bank statement shows only 16 months of work experience, which is lower than what has been written in my work experience letter. Is that a problem for claiming 3 years of work experience? Okay, so the first response I'll give you, Raya, is that you don't actually need to provide bank statements. When you're completing your application, the government asks you for that reference letter. So you've indicated your reference letters are great, that they comply with IRCC requirements, so that's wonderful. And so that's the starting point. Then the next step is it says pay stubs if available. If you have pay stubs, then that's good. I never ever provide bank statements. If the work experience you're trying to claim is not going to be easily verified by immigration, in other words, your company maybe isn't registered, or you can't find it online, or there isn't LinkedIn accounts for everybody. If it's difficult for the government to verify that your company exists, then at that stage, I will provide bank statements. Now, in terms of the bank statements and how you're compensated, the key is that you're demonstrating that you're actually being paid for the period of time that you're working. if a company decides they're just not going to pay you and you're working for free, well, you're not going to be able to claim that work experience. But if they're just intermittent in how they're paying you, then that's not the end of the world. You just have to do a really good job of explaining it. And you have to take the time necessary to do it in a way that's going to resolve that concern of an officer if they're wondering whether or not you were actually paid because of a break in your payment cycle. So whether or not you actually need to include your bank statements is really more contextual. It depends upon the strength of the company that you're working for, whether or not you have bank statements, whether or not you have other information that you can provide to make the job easier for an officer. Okay, good first question. Okay, Liggy here. So Liggy's got a lot of questions, but we're just going to tackle just the first one here. So greetings from India. Hope you're keeping well. Mark, I've received an ITA on the 19th of February. Congratulations. Currently, I'm collecting the documents. My questions are as follows. Due to COVID-19, there is an extension provided for 19 days. So is it possible for me to take no action now and submit the final application by the end of 90 days? Or do I have to submit an incomplete application before the deadline indicated on the ITA and given a letter of explanation? I want to remind everybody, including Liggy, that if the government has given you 90 days, which is what they've done for everybody, that extra full 90 days to respond. In some cases, it's an extra 30 days. If your MyCIC portal showed that you had 60 days, and then all of a sudden you got this 30-day boost, understand this is the government trying to stretch it out to give you time to get the documents. So in your situation, you need to make sure that you collect as many as you can, and those you can't, you document, and you do provide a letter of explanation. But you can totally wait until the end of that 90 days. That is the grace period that the government has now given. So everybody has that. Okay, great question. Okay, you've also asked some other questions, but we're going to make sure that we give it an opportunity for everyone. So Mohammed says, hello, Mark. I have a query regarding post-ITA, as I am accompanying spouse and I didn't claim any points for my work. But when I fill the personal history section, I really need to mention there. But the point is, I'm working for my father's business since 3 years. How do I mention there that I'm working for this business? Okay, Mohammed, you don't need to provide any reference letters when you are explaining your work history. Now, in the work history section, if you're an accompanying spouse and you have no Canadian work experience, you do not need to list work experience in that section. You will, however, need to list your work experience 100% unequivocally within the personal history section of your application. So in the personal history section, you're just going to list who you worked for. If it was your father, doesn't matter. The name of the company doesn't matter, but you're going to put that in the personal history section. You will not have to provide a reference letter. So don't worry about it. Don't sweat it, Mohammed. Okay, Mr. Khan says here, hello, Mark, hope you're fine. I want to ask you something regarding work experience. As I worked for a company for 1 year, February 2015 to April 2016, then did my post-grad, then working in the same company from 2008 until now, my point is I want to show both of my experiences in the profile, but does it consider from 3 years or more? Because I worked in the same NOC and in the same company. Okay, so you have to remember, so it says, as I worked for a company for 1 year, then did my post-grad, then working for the same company. So in this case here, Con, it's difficult for me to answer your question here. Any work experience, if you were on a study permit, which I'm assuming if you're getting your post-grad, if you worked before while you're on a study permit, you can't claim that work experience towards the Canadian Experience class. So you can't actually include that work experience in your eligibility for the Canadian Experience class. And when it comes to Canadian work experience for the purposes of the comprehensive ranking system for express entry, you also can't claim it, but you can start claiming from the date you filed your post-grad work permit application. And so that's kind of how you deal with that. Okay, Bawa says, hi, sir. I hope that you and your loved ones are safe in these difficult times. I have a question regarding express entry, which I think will benefit lots of other candidates as well. Good. That's the kind of question we're looking for. I have stamps on my passport that are in Chinese, and I studied there for a year. So what is your advice? Should I include the translation of just the stamps in my express entry profile? Whether it is possible and legal to translate the official stamps of China? Please answer this question in your next live Q&A. Okay, well, the reality is we've heard rumors. I personally have never had an application refused because someone provided their current passport with all the marked pages or stamps where a stamp was in a different language. I personally never have had anyone get their application returned because those individual stamps weren't translated. But I can tell you that I do not take any chances anymore. So in circumstances where I have clients that have visa stamps in their passports that are from another language, I will actually take the extra step to get them translated. Some people may say, Mark, you're crazy. Why in the world would you do that when it's such an inconsequential thing? Like, why does immigration care? Well, why does immigration do a lot of things that they do? Because they have a tendency to be quite ruthless in their application process. Remember, they do not care about you. They do not care about you at all. All they care about is that you're putting together an application that makes their job as easy as possible, that you've provided exactly everything they've asked for. And what do the instructions say? It says any document submitted with your application that is in a language other than English or French needs to be translated. So if you take that strictly, although it sounds so absurd, if you want to make sure that you leave no room for an officer to return your application for being incomplete, then I advise my clients to actually get those stamps translated. Okay? All right, we'll do one more question, then we're going to go to live here. All right. Excellent. Oh, we've got a lot of good people here tuning in. I'm just going to give a shout out to Mitzi. Mitzi, you one day need to come and join me and talk about your story, because Mitzi had a real difficult go-round, but we were successful, weren't we? Wow, did we have to fight. That was one where we had a refusal, and then we had to encourage immigration to take another look at it and consider whether or not the refusal was really fair. And that's really what we did. So big shout out to you, Mitzi. It was great to have you watching. Oh, this is great. And then I have to post this one as well for everybody. Mitzi does confirm that IRCC does not care. They sure don't. But you, my friend, are a permanent resident and you are a happy camper now. All right. Okay, so let's go back and let's finish with one last question. Okay. All right. Sukdeep says, hello, Mark. I have a question for your next EE Live Q&A. I request you to please answer it, as this is my first and only question that I've asked so far. Okay, you've got your question. It's going to be answered. Okay, I'm an Indian and will be applying for EE via the Federal Skilled Worker Program. In my personal history section, I've lived in a number of different places in India for work and travel. I don't remember the exact address, like apartment number, street number of many locations. So what should I do? How likely is an immigration officer to return my EE profile, Federal Skilled Worker profile, if I don't provide him with the exact address of the places of stay during the past 10 years? Okay, so two things. One, we'll jump right to the bottom. Obviously, what Sukdeep is talking about here is the EAPR section, the Electronic Application for Permanent Residence section, after the ITA was received. That's where the addresses are actually requested. If you cannot remember them, it's not the end of the world, but you do have to take the time in a letter of explanation to clearly explain that you have only entered in an apartment number or a street number in your EAPR address history because you couldn't remember what it was. So you entered a random number just so that the EAPR section would actually close, because if there's any missing information, it won't allow you to actually close. So in the case of you here, Sukdeep, in your situation, you're going to provide a letter of explanation. You're going to make whatever entries into your actual address history to allow you to register that address history. Okay, so that's really what it comes down to. And then the letter of explanation is so important. And so many people just are uncertain about this. They just don't know how to explain it. They don't know how to do it. And then they end up spending way more time than they need to, or in some cases not being clear enough to do anything other than confuse an officer even more. So in all of your situations, those letters of explanation are pretty sensitive, delicate documents that are included within your EAPR. And so in your situation, Sukdeep, that is basically how I would address it. You're going to do whatever you need to do to fill in the information. And then after that, you're going to explain that the information you entered in may not be correct, but it's to the best of your recollection. And where it's not, you just explain that the information was just put in so that you could actually get your EAPR to load. on your MyCIC portal. Okay, great question. All right. So we've got a bunch of people now that are posting questions. You guys need to hold off for a little bit. Actually, we're probably at a stage now where you guys can actually post. So I'm not gonna answer Karen's question, but Karen Vade, you can repost yours right now, and anyone who posts after Karen's comment, which is this one, which I'm actually not gonna answer, after that one, then I will start answering the questions. Now, for fun, because you guys are here and I like to give things away, what I want to do is actually do a little giveaway. Yes, indeed. But some of you are thinking, oh, Mark, where are you broadcasting from? That's going to be the question. Well, today I'm going to surprise you guys, because where I'm broadcasting from is actually not the question that I'm asking today. I'm mixing it up. Now there's so many questions posted here. I got to remember where I left off with. There it is. So the challenge today, and what I'm giving away, like I always do, is free accesses to my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. And I guess it's actually a course, and Igor and I have talked about that a lot, that you guys don't understand what the difference is between a course and a guide. But I'm just going to pull up right here. If you go to the Canadian Immigration Institute website, and Igor will post the links here in the comments, and for those of you, you just have to type in Canadian Immigration Institute, and then you can see the courses which are slowly starting to be built out. The first one, that is by far the one that's been around the longest and most popular, is my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Course to Doing It Yourself, chock full of just a ton of information and demonstrations on how to do the whole Express Entry application. And I'm going to log in quick and show you, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a giveaway right now while we're waiting for the comments to be posted. And the giveaway is actually going to be for a one-time, usually the payment itself, a one-time access. I'm going to give away 3 of them. And so you'll see here that I have 5 modules and 1 massive member resource section that covers everything from learning the basics to preparing to submit your Express Entry profile, to completing your profile. And when I say completing, I have a video that's actually linked to every single part of the profile. So it's a live video tutorial, a step-by-step. If any of you gamers out there, it's like one of those choose your adventure games where you have to find your way to solve the mystery, or to rescue the princess that's locked in a castle, and you have to go through these different challenges and things. Well, it's kind of like that, except you know how some people used to post, at least in the old days, these walkthroughs that tell you how to find everything so you don't have to waste your time looking for them. Well, that's what this is. It's like a video walkthrough for a video game, except the video game is actually your life and Express Entry. So I have an individual lesson that is an actual video of me working through each section of the Express Entry profile, telling you what to put into each of the sections. And so this whole process here that we have is a real live example, okay? And it's not just for profile. It also is after we receive the invitation to apply and you're completing the EAPR. And this is the part that most of the clients that I work for, this is the part that they appreciate the most. And I hope you guys understand that this took me hundreds of hours to create, because I had to go through systematically and very carefully blur out all sensitive, confidential information in here. And so you can see here on the screen that I've blocked out all of the actual information that relates to the clients who granted me permission to use their EAPR to actually create these videos. So I've got everything in here that you could want for all sections. And the part that I actually personally love the most is actually Module 5. And so if I go back to Module 5, some of you have seen this, but those who are just looking at it for the first time, Lesson 40 is the document checklist. And this document checklist that I have is chock full. On the right column, you can see all of these sample documents, everything from reference letters to gift deeds to RCMP police certificates if you're in Canada. And I've got just a bunch of other documents all designed to help you know if you're on the right track. And so all of these are here, all of the ECAs, LMIAs, everything, job offer letters, all here for you. And then the final piece for people who say, oh, this is general information, Mark. What's the point? I can get this anywhere. The member resource section here is chock full of specific videos, such as the top 5 reasons your express entry application is refused. For work experience, one of the more popular one is how do I prove experience if I'm self-employed? And there's sections on language, how to increase my language score. Eligibility, don't waste your money giving anyone dollars to help you figure out your eligibility. You can do it on your own. And that's what all of these videos are for. Job offers, proof of funds, police clearances, dependent family, non-accompanying spouses, education. So all of these are available. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to open up onto my screen here the instructions. So today we are promoting our Instagram page. And so this is a little bit different. And for those of you who are actually wondering, hey, Mark, you actually didn't even tell us where this video was actually being a broadcast from. Let me just pull this up and I'm going to tell you in just a second here. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so this one is Phuket, Thailand. So that's where I'm from. Igor dragged this one up from somewhere. So it sure would be nice to be here, hey? That would be awesome. But anyway, so I'm broadcasting from Phuket, Thailand. But that's not the question today. So here's what we're going to have you guys do, okay? So the first thing here is you're going to subscribe to our Instagram account. You're going to leave a comment, and then you're going to repost and tag us in an Instagram story. So this is catering to the people out there that are on Instagram. So this is what you're going to need to do. There's a little bit of work to be eligible. And you're probably saying, well, Mark, where is your Instagram? Well, this is what it is. It's holthe.immigration.law on Instagram. So this is where you're going to be able to make yourself eligible to win one of 3 free accesses to my Express Entry Complete step-by-step course to doing it yourself. And every live Q&A, we're going to be giving this away. These accesses, we're going to have different challenges at different times just to make it kind of fun. But that's what you need to do. And then once we track and see who has actually followed our instructions, subscribe to Instagram, leave a comment, repost, and tag us in an Instagram story, once you've done that, then we will put you in a random, so not first to do it, because everybody's going to get a chance to do this. But Igor's got some software program. I can't remember. He can post what it is, but it's a randomizer so that it will randomly choose in a fair way a person who, or really 3 that are going to get that free access to my Express Entry Complete step-by-step course for doing it yourself. Okay? Awesome. All right, we'll clear this out now. These 2 right here. Okay, now it is time to get to spending the last 30 minutes here answering all of your questions. Okay, so the first, okay, it looks like Igor beat everyone to the punch here. So we are going to, this is a big one, so just bear with me. But this question came through our Instagram account. So we're going to start off with this one, and you can just ignore my ugly mug here. That's okay. I'm hiding behind the image. We'll read it together. Good day, sir. I have a question regarding my personal history. After receiving an acknowledgement of receipt, I realized that I forgot to indicate information about his involvement in university clubs and his part-time job during the university studies. Also, he's having a hard time recalling the time periods when he worked at the university. Would it be acceptable if I submit an LOE with this information to IRCC? So this is one of the challenges that we have, and it's a big challenge. It really is. One of the challenges we have, and I see a lot, and I do a lot of consultations with people, is people who actually submit their EIPR and then realize after submitting it that they made a mistake, that there was, there was some aspect of it that they forgot about. And you guys have seen when you submit the EIPR, it's locked in. There is no ability for you to then go and update your actual profile. And the EIPR application that you've submitted, it's locked in. So what do? Well, and depending on the circumstances. So when it comes to failing to include information you should have, or even correcting other misinformation, the only option that you can do is to actually go to the IRCC web form. and that's where you do it. So let's take a look at this web form. So if I type in web form, IRCC, that takes me to it. You might need to type in something else, but this is basically the link. And this is where you go to try to update the information. Now understand, there's no guarantee that an officer has to look at it, because when you click submit, you attest that everything is true, correct, and complete. So that is the most important part. And so you're going to type in here, you're going to choose permanent residence, and it's applied online. Okay. Then you're going to type in the type of application, which of course is express entry. You're going to fill in your information in this box below here, and you're going to make sure that all of this information, as much as you can provide, is there, especially your client ID, your application number. Those pieces of information are really critical, because that is how they're going to link this information to what you're sending. And then as you go to the bottom, you put in here that you're supplying your email address, that you've initiated communication, that's how you're going to talk to them, and then you agree with consent and you agree to the disclaimer. And then you can see here, this is the most important part. If you forgot a document or you needed to upload a document, you would do it at the next screen right here. Okay, so that's how you do it. And yes, I would definitely update anything. You have nothing to lose, but do it as quickly as you can. Okay, great question. Awesome. Okay, next question here. Who do we have coming up? This one is from Nilesh. So what is C10 category in correspondence to work permit extensions? Okay, I mentioned this, I think, in the past. If you have an employer who is willing to support you, and for whatever reason, you're on a post-grad work permit, or you're on some kind of an open work permit that you're struggling with an ability to extend it, one of the things that I'm recommending to my clients is to consider using the C10 category. And so some people are wondering, okay, what is the C10 category? In Canada, we have two different programs. We have the International Mobility Program, which is where the C10 work permit is actually found. And we also have the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, which is all of the LMIA-based work permits, where companies have to prove there's no Canadian or permanent resident who can do the job before they can offer it to you. So traditionally, all of the job offers, generally speaking, well, two of the three options that we have to get those extra 50 points under express entry for job offers are tied directly to a work permit that is based on a labor market impact assessment. So you're working in Canada on an LMIA, or you have a job offer that's issued by a company in Canada where they have gone ahead and got an LMIA, a permanent one, and you've then been able to use it to support your permanent resident application before you actually come to Canada. Those two options are one and two ways that you can get a job offer. The other is through another employer named work permit, so employer specific, where you've been working in Canada under one of these work permits under the International Mobility Program and the C10 work permit category, which I have right here. And Igor can probably post a link to this in the comment section. And we'll also try to, maybe I'll even do a little blog post or something on this. But this program right here under the International Mobility Program is Canadian Interest Significant Benefit. Now understand, it is not designed traditionally for anything like this. I use this for my CEOs of large publicly traded companies who, because if they can't get into Canada right away, they are then going to be in a situation where Canadians are going to lose their jobs. So there is a significant economic benefit, but there's also social or cultural benefits that people can point to as well to justify the issuance of this work permit. But it is not your typical work permit. It is rarely granted. It is highly exceptional. But in the current world we're in right now, the government has said that has encouraged people to file work permit extension applications if they're running out of time in Canada and they need to extend their stay. They've encouraged you to actually file a work permit extension. Well, that's great. But the reality is, under what authority? And it's very, very, well, I'm not going to even say borderline unethical. There are ethical issues for us as immigration lawyers filing frivolous applications. In other words, filing a work permit extension application when I know there's no LMIA, there's even no employer supporting someone on a post-grad work permit that's expiring. I have serious reservations doing that. And so for people that are in that situation, it's a reality, it's a challenge. But for others who have an employer who says, look, I can't do an LMIA right now because of this whole world being shut down, but I will support you and I do want to keep you, then this C10 option is a possibility for you. Aside from that, and let me just shift back to my screen here. So this program, this is the C10, and C10 is the confirmation exemption code the government uses. It's what they use to basically to identify this type of work permit that's issued under Regulation 205A, significant benefits. And so this is the information, you can read about it. But one of the most important aspects of this is that you have an employer who is willing to support you, who is willing to file under the International Mobility Program a registration of the job offer. And that's a whole separate discussion. I'm not going to get into a lot of details about this, but you can read into it. And that registration under the International Mobility Program is what employers do to register the job offer before someone can apply for one of the work permits under this government program. Okay, so that is a long-winded question, but that is one of the ways that I do when I have an employer that's supporting the application. If you do not, there is another strategy which you can apply, and that is to request a temporary resident permit at the same time that you request your work permit extension. Now, the key here is if you file your work permit before your current one expires, you can continue to benefit from implied status. You can continue to even work, if you have the ability to do it, for the same employer in the same terms and conditions as that original work permit. And so a temporary resident permit is this, it's an application that's made when you don't qualify for something under the Immigration Act. Either you are ineligible for it or there's some problem. It's designed to overcome some barrier that you're facing with respect to, in this case, the extension of your work permit. If you have no program or no category in which to extend it, you don't have an employer who's supporting you, then a TRP and a work permit may be an option for you. And there are other strategies that are employed. If you would like to learn more, I'd be more than happy to work with you to help you to figure out how to do it. It depends on each individual circumstances, so I can't give you a step-by-step guide at this stage because the factors and the justifications and the requests are all based on you and your situation, and no two people are alike. And so that would require booking a consultation. It's interesting, someone was so helpful last week and posted a comment that said, don't waste your time booking a consult with Mark. You can find all the information online. You know what? I hate people like that because it's those idiots that maybe got lucky and got through on their own because, well, either an officer didn't pay attention to their application or they just had a simple, straightforward situation. But if they saw the people who reached out to me week after week, even now in the midst of COVID-19, with issues they just can't resolve on their own, and they're definitely not going to rely on some person to issue them free advice that they have no clue who they are, they're the ones that book consults. And so if you're in that situation, you can easily go to my site, book a paid consult, and we can get your issue resolved in 25 minutes. Don't be deceived, that 25 minutes also includes the lead into it before we ever get on the call, where I review your situation myself. So I know the moment we open the call what your issues are, and we talk straight about resolving them. And I charge $200 plus an extra $10 for sales tax that I charge here. And so Igor can post a comment there. Those of you, if you want to go to my Holthe Law website, you can also see right here on the main site, if you click on the Start Here button, then it will allow you to go forward and book that paid consultation. And when you click on the Start Here button, it gives you options, and then you can choose the service that you need, whether it's individual immigration, if it's an issue about I want to enter or remain in Canada temporarily, I want a work permit in Canada, and then it will take you to the spot where you can actually fill out what works best for you. Okay, so just want to throw that out, and it's just another tool that's available to assist you guys. Okay, great questions, and thank you guys for your patience. All right, let's keep cruising through these. Okay, this next one is, let's see if it'll fit. When they're big, guys, it's hard for me to get through these, but let's see. And we definitely want to keep these small. Okay, Kabir says, hi, Mr. Holthe. Want to let you know that you are the best and thank you for the awesome work that you do. My question, which I'm not clear, is as follows. So really it's more lead up than it is question. Does the PR stand valid for 5 years from the date of first entry or then date of delivery of the card? when we apply for extension, did they go back 5 years from the date we got the card? I think I answered this one last week, or the day we landed in the country. Thank you very much. It's not clear on the website. The only date that you have to concern yourself with is whatever the expiry date is on the card. So whatever the date issued on your card, it will have an expiry date, and that's the only date that you have to concern yourself with. The date that they assess for the purposes of the 5 years in Canada is 5 years backwards from the day that you submit. So it's the immediate 5 years, the 5 years immediately preceding the date that you submit your application. That is the 5 year period that they look at. The PR card is only as to whether or not you can board a plane. It doesn't have anything to do with your maintaining or eligibility as a permanent resident. The PR card is just a way that the government can force you to reprove that you've actually met the 2 years in every 5 years that you need to in Canada if you are going to maintain your permanent resident status. Okay, so it's not based on, well, just watch your PR card. That's the most important date. When you land, you become a permanent resident, and you never lose that permanent resident status at all unless a formal determination has been made that you've lost it. Okay, all right, good question, Kabir. Thank you for asking that one. All right, let's move on. Next question here. Excellent. This is a YouTuber. Welcome, Welwyn. Can I remove one of my work history from my profile if the CRS score drops to a level that I can get by using 1 year of work experience, because this employer is not giving me the reference letter? Okay, absolutely, Welwyn. In your profile, you can make any changes that you want to. So all the way up until the point where you are getting your invitation to apply, you can always remove it. You only need to include the work history that you want to claim points for. So in your situation, absolutely. If you've got a high enough CRS score with just 1 year of work experience, and that other uncooperative jerk employer is not giving you the reference letter, like so many I see, especially you guys working for those big IT companies, they're jerks, man. Like, they totally do not help because they want to keep you as indentured servants, basically, and don't want you to take off and go work somewhere else. I've got my own feelings about it, and I don't want to alienate some of those big companies that I do work for. But it's always frustrating for me when they try to hold you ransom, basically by not giving you a reference letter, just in order to make it difficult for you to leave. Well, then make your employment better. Make your work environment more attractive. Don't always blame the workers for wanting to leave the moment they get permanent residence. Make your workplace a place that they love so much that they would never want to leave. Do that. Try that. Now, I know it's not that simple. There's a lot of factors that that cause someone to choose to leave, but that's kind of how I look at it. If the work environment, and I've myself have lost a lot of really good employees that have gone off and done other things because they feel like they have a better opportunity outside of my firm. I'm working on that for sure to make it such that no one would ever want to leave. But over the years, I've had to learn things and learn ways to make my office just more attractive and for all the people that I train to stay. Okay, good question. All right. Okay, and then one other thing I want to point out as I shift to another question here is on our website, we have a blog post. And in this blog post, there's one about entitlement to insurance benefits. So those of you who are in Canada are wondering about the employment insurance benefits, this is where you can go. And then also here, we have a blog post that relates directly to the travel restrictions and other information. And so this was written by my colleague, Susan Wood. She did a great job. We try to keep this updated as much as possible with changes. And at the end, there is links to information and orders. So this is where you can get super important information all about the orders, about travel, about everything that COVID-19 is, how it's affecting immigration, and it's a living document. So we try to keep it updated as much as possible. So check the site, go to our blog post, and look for future posts. Okay, next question here. This one is from another YouTuber. Good day, sir. After receiving the AOR, I realized that I forgot to provide information. See, regarding my involvement in university clubs and part-times. Okay, so I think I answered this one already. So go in, make the change. Okay, through the web form. All right, Kenza says, hi Mark, hope you're doing well. Some information around tells that IRCC grants a systematic extension of 3 months for expired COPRs visas. Can you confirm, please? Okay, it's nothing. You need to actually request this. And so when you are facing a situation where your confirmation of permanent residence is expiring and you're unable to travel, yes, immigration will grant you an extension of time, but you need to submit through that same web form. You need to notify them. You need to say that I can't travel and I need an extension. And at this stage, they are granting those. Okay, Igor, maybe you can find that. You can post that for Kenza, that exact link. It'll take me a little time to track it down, but yes, those instructions are there, and that is possible. But you must use the web form and you must notify them. That's the position that I take, so that they know that I know that they know. that your COPR is expiring through no fault of your own. So I do it as a protective measure. Okay, so Kenza, Facebook, great comment. Okay, let's jump here for Bernard. So Bernard says, hi Mark, is it true that it is easier for someone residing in the US to enter Canada through express entry? And if someone is a student in the US and needs to leave the US back home, especially with the COVID crisis, will this affect the process, or only simply the address of residence should be updated through the web form? Okay, Bernard, you've hit on all the points. The reality is it's no easier or more difficult for someone to qualify through express entry, whether they're in the US or any other country. The comprehensive ranking system is based on a person's human capital. And I guess the only thing I would say is that any master's that you took in the US is generally always going to be acceptable for the purposes of the educational credential assessment. So it's pretty rare that you're going to have a master's completed in the US and it's not going to equate to a Canadian master's. For example, compared to India, where maybe you did a master's in India and that education, or the Philippines, maybe is not doesn't equate to a master's level degree in Canada. So that's the one issue where being in the US and having US education is advantageous. Also, what's another advantage? Well, you've already been in a country speaking English, and there's a chance that if English isn't your first language and you've spent a lot of time in the US, well, you're probably going to have an easier time with the language testing. So that is another advantage. But the final one, in terms of whether or not you can leave, yeah, 100%. You can totally go. After you submit your EAPR, if you need to leave and go back to your home country, that's not a problem at all. Yes, you would use the web form to update your address. So awesome. Thanks, Bernard. Great question. Okay, let's see. We've got another Facebook. Steve says, is birth certificate important? If yes, my birth certificate is in Punjabi language, and on the birth certificate, I do not have my name mentioned, but my parents' name have, and my spouse's birth certificate is Russian. Advise, please. However, I have notarized English translations for both. Steve, for express entry, you do not need birth certificates. The only time you need them is if you're trying to prove, for example, sibling relationship. And then sometimes you'll need to then show that you both have the same parents. If you have a sibling who is living in Canada and you want to get those extra points, or your spouse. But if you don't have that, then the only individuals that need those birth certificates are accompanying children, your dependent children. Okay, good question, Steve. Okay, this one is back to YouTube, and I'm so grateful that these questions are showing up. Vishnu says, hi Mark, got a general question. Do we have to show the source of funds if the bank fixed deposit are there for over 6 months? This is a loaded question. So if the funds are yours, you've earned them through your own savings, and they do not come from someone else and they're truly yours, then no, you just provide the letter and that's all you need. If your father gave you a gift deed and that money was deposited into your account, and it's been sitting there for 6 months, I will still take the step of getting that gift deed showing that the funds were given to me as a gift, not a loan, from my father or my family member. And I take the position, everyone, friends loan money. They don't give money. Family, yes, give money. So if you're trying to say your friend is just giving you $20,000 for your family to land in Canada and they don't expect it to be paid back, you're going to have a steep hill to climb. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a reality. So even though I don't worry about the month, if the funds were given to you by someone else, then I just get a gift deed and I show the source of those funds. That's what I do. Okay. If they're your own money, then you don't need to do that. If they come through your own employment savings, then you don't need to do that. Okay. All right. Let's see here. We'll try to find ones that are not copied. Okay, let's see. Okay, Steve says, I will see that in Manitoba, the PNP for adaptability points, there's an option for regional immigration points. What is that? So regional immigration typically relates to connections that you have with the province. Now, the Manitoba PNP is not something that I have a lot of experience with. And so I'd encourage you to reach out to some of my awesome friends there. Sophia Mirza is one of them at Fillmore Riley. She's awesome. Ken Zafman, another fantastic lawyer there. I'd encourage you to reach out to those guys about the PNP. Alistair Clark is also there, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch, but there's some really good immigration lawyers that can give you guidance if you're considering the Manitoba PNP. All right. Good question, Steve. And that's another thing too. Like, I definitely don't go out of my way to try to show that I know everything there is to know about everything. Often when people say, hey, I want to immigrate to this province or another province, and they have some unique situation, I believe in giving my clients what they need best. Sometimes it's me, and I believe that I can really help them. Other times, a colleague may have expertise that I don't. I don't do a lot of appeal work. I use my friend Reka McNutt with Karen and Partners in Calgary all the time to file the judicial reviews, and she's come on my podcast. And I'd encourage you guys as well. I'm just going to flip the screen around here, and I'm going to just shrink down Sunita's comment for a second. I think you guys probably also know that I have the immigration podcast, which I'm going to be pushing out some new podcast episodes. And so I'd encourage you to go check it out. The last one I did was April the 2nd, what is going on with Canadian immigration. You might find that one kind of funny, but go and watch it. You can actually access it if you go to iTunes, I think, too. I'm not sure if I actually have the link still here, but you can access it on iTunes. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, you can access all 74 past episodes that are all on iTunes. So Mark doesn't just do videos. Okay, next one, Sunita. Let's see what Sunita has to say here. Hi, Mark. Do the immigration officers assigned to our PR applications contact the references on our reference letter for knock? Also, can I use an evaluation for my property as proof of funds? Okay, so start with the first one. Officers, if they feel they need to, they will. If they feel that there's a reason to look into it. Usually the only time they do is if they suspect fraud. In other words, if they suspect that you're willfully misrepresenting something, sometimes then they'll do the investigation so that they can bar you for 5 years from misrepresenting, submitting a fraudulent document. But generally, they don't take those extreme measures to actually reach out and talk to someone about the knock. If you have a letter and you've listed your duties and the employer has vouched for it, they usually aren't going to go and say, oh, did she really do that job duty? They just don't have time to do that. But if they have a reason to doubt what you're doing or to believe that you're not telling the truth, then yeah, they can use whatever resources are at their disposal to investigate. And the reason they're investigating is because they want to catch you in the lie, and they want to then bar you from Canada for 5 years. Okay, good question, Sunita. Okay, we got another Facebook one from here. Is this COVID period going to be considered as a full-time work experience, or will they extend the period of a visa? This is something that we have had a lot of discussions with immigration about. So one of the questions is, well, I'm laid off in Canada now because of COVID, because of the government's restrictions and the encouragement to self-isolate. Can I continue to count that towards express entry? Can I continue to count that as continuous work experience? Well, the answer is we don't know at this stage. There's been some discussions, but it appears that there is a real significant reluctance of the government to change the actual eligibility requirements for the various programs, to give people credit for something that never happened, even though it's something like this that is just completely outside of what anyone could have predicted. I personally feel, Mihir, that it's not going to happen, that they're not going to give credit for work experience because you're not doing the work. And the reality is many people are going to have to face a whole new reality. Those of you who have planned and hoped and dreamed of being able to stay in Canada, who now are faced with the reality of layoffs and everything, when we have, they're projecting some, at times up to 25%. I think we've had over 1 million layoffs across Canada. And when we have Canadians outside of jobs, the government is going to place their desire to protect that Canadian labor force and give them the first opportunity for positions, they're going to support them and facilitate them before they're going to do the same level of facilitation for foreign workers. So understand that your position, although it's cruel and heartless, is entirely possible that you could see your opportunities of staying in Canada. If this prolongs for an extended period of time, you could see some of your hopes and your opportunities dashed. And you need to start to take that into consideration. It's just a reality. Now, it's possible the government may take measures to protect individuals that are in this situation. But at this stage, we haven't seen a real aptitude towards that. Okay. Okay. Steve says, do IRCC verify all the addresses we lived on last 10 years? Usually they don't do that. You guys freak me out. Why are you asking this? If you're not quite sure whether or not you actually, your address, your street number, then just tell them you're not sure. Do the best you can to provide the information, and then tell them that this is the best of your information, the best of your knowledge, but it may not be perfectly accurate. But you know where you've lived generally in the city. As long as you've got the city correct, you've got the right police certificates, you're going to be fine as long as you explain. Okay, let's jump back to YouTube. This one's from Nithin. Can an IELTS academic use as proficiency for a spouse since IELTS general exams are suspended? And do we need to submit the copies, old passport pages to prove travel history? Okay, first question, Nithin. No, at this stage, we have seen no indication, and unless someone else has seen some change, and understand these things happen all the time without any warning, if there's a change, then absolutely please post it here if I'm saying something that there's been a recent announcement, a recent change. But as it stands right now, academic IELTS does not work. You need to have the general one, and even while they're suspended, everybody is in that same boat. They just can't get them. When it comes to old passport pages and proving travel history, that's an old consultant misconception that no longer exists. The reason that it even came to a reality was because the government used to have or request police certificates for every country that you have lived in cumulatively over the past 10 years. So if you have been to a country, even temporarily for short stays, that collectively, when you add them all up, cumulatively, they reached at least 6 months, then you were required to get a police certificate from that country. And express entry, why they did that, I don't know. It's not the way now. Now you have to have lived in that country for 6 months in a row within the past 10 years to be required to submit a police certificate up front. But so because of that, immigration in the past, when they had the cumulative rule, would ask for people to provide all their passports, and they would look at the stamps and they would calculate it up. And if you were over 6 months to one country and you didn't provide a police certificate for that country, then guess what they would do? Because they're so kind, so loving. Okay, they're not. They're mean. They're cruel. They would return the application and say, oh, too bad, you didn't provide the police certificate, so we have to return it as being incomplete. Not cool, but that's the process that they take, or at least they took. But that's not the case anymore. It's 6 months in a row. Now, it's 6 months in a row is the rule. And when you look at the EAPR personal document checklist, you'll see when you click on the little question mark button beside passports, it says to provide a copy of your current or your valid passport or travel document. And so you don't have to provide for your old one. Okay. They can always come back and request it, but it's not something that they ask for up front. Okay. 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 Tamor says, thanks for the Q&A. You're very welcome. Okay, Shiva says, we'll go back to YouTube. I've been seeing many PNPs happening, especially AINP. I see Alberta picking up candidates with CRS as low as 300 plus. My knock is 2173, which is the best PNP for me with CRS of 409. Shiva, that is exactly the kind of question that requires a paid consultation because it's only a benefit to you. And I cannot adequately answer that in a live Q&A stream. So Shiva, you'd need to book a consult. Okay, Kenza says, back to Facebook. Hope you're doing well. Some information around tells that IRCC grants. Okay, I think we've already done that. We talked that about the 3 months extension. You guys posting double comments. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's another one. This is from an unknown person. Hey, Mark, related to the update on April the 9th, what's happening with the work permit applications already in process? Okay, so here is something that I want to share. And Igor, if you can maybe timestamp this as 1 hour and 3 minutes and 57 seconds. This is the stage where I'm going to answer the actual leading question, which the question is Canada really stopping processing the actual have they stopped processing visas? And so let me just see here as I go through this. Now I have to find the page, and I'm wondering if maybe per se I actually didn't keep it. Let me just see here. Bear with me. I got to go backwards now after changing all of my screens and see if I can find the link. Otherwise, it's going to be harder for me to find it. Oh, seriously. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Thanks for your patience. This is where if I had a little bit of quiet music in the background, I'd let it play. Well, I'm now going back to my email to pull up the link. So, oh boy, good times, guys. But I want to show you this. So, as many of you know, over the weekend, the government reiterated very clearly that they are not going to be processing applications for temporary entry to Canada. Oh, let me just get to the right page here. I'm bouncing around so fast here. I have to make sure that I'm actually on the right screen. Bear with me, guys. As soon as I do this, I will pull it up for you, okay? Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. It took a long time to get here. Igor, once again, you can post, okay, this link. This is the source of all information that's really important for everybody that's in Canada right now, as well as people who are looking to travel. And it's really the source of how coronavirus, COVID-19, is affecting immigration. And you can see it's all of the programs: refugee, citizenship, passport, and it affects visitors. It affects foreign workers and students. Igor just sent me a Skype message. He's awesome. Just under the wire. I just found it before he sent it to me. So take a look at this. Okay, guys, this is important. So is Canada really suspending processing? Well, look at this. Temporary foreign workers, some international students, and approved permanent residents who haven't yet landed are now able to enter Canada. But here is the key, okay? You'll see here, the travel restrictions exemptions were announced. If you're exempt, you can now apply. If you're traveling by air, you need to pass a health check conducted by the airlines before you're allowed to board your flight. Anyone showing symptoms will not be able to enter Canada by air. Okay, now here is the thing. So here it says, and this is where it's so confusing for people. Okay, so there's travel restrictions and there's exemptions. If you're exempt, you can travel. Okay, great. But understand, when you arrive in Canada, they'll assess your health before you leave the port of entry, and you must isolate. This is mandatory. And then here is the key, okay? Only people who provide essential services and truck drivers who regularly cross the border to maintain the flow of goods are exempt from the isolation requirements. Okay, great. So, and I'm going to actually pull up Igor's link here as well that he just sent me to make sure that I am on the right page here, because this does not look like the one that I thought I was on, that I needed. Let's see here. I'm going to go back to the link that Igor sent me. And let's see, this should be the same page. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, let's see if we can find this one now. Okay. Okay, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. I was actually on the wrong page. So this one you can see here. If we scroll down to the bottom here, this was last updated April the 10th, so over the weekend. Okay, these are the program delivery instructions. The one I was showing you over here with respect to the with the travel, this one here, and this is where you have to, it was also updated April the 10th, but it doesn't give as clear of an explanation as this one does right here. And you can find this one through that same link. But these program delivery instructions are the ones here. So you can see here, these program delivery instructions align with the ministerial instructions that are in effect April 9th to April 29th, 2020, okay? So this covers this period of time. So these are interim instructions to enable staff to process new and existing applications, and basically they'll end when the travel restrictions are discontinued. So this is kind of where you can get the office closures. You can see a bunch of things, but this is where I want to show you. So applicants can apply for temporary resident visas via online applications only. Paper applications are not being accepted. Due to the restrictions on travel to Canada, only applicants who meet one of the exempt criteria and who are traveling for a non-discretionary purpose will be processed. Okay, this includes both the new applications and those whose applications are currently pending. So TRV application fees still apply. So your travel has to be for a non-discretionary purpose. Okay, if you meet the travel restriction exemptions and establish you're traveling for a non-discretionary purpose, the applicant here must continue to meet all the usual eligibility requirements for immigration, is what it says here. And so understand, when you're going through this process, this really is where you go. This is where it has all the information. I'm not going to go through everything, but Igor will post the link and you can see. So yes, they are suspending the processing of applications overseas, visitor, work permit, study permit, that are non-essential. And they actually say don't even apply, because it's critical that they have the resources, their limited staff, to be used for people who are actually looking to come back to Canada and are fit within those exemptions. Okay, so for example, I'll give you one example. You have a parent or grandparent that's overseas that are looking to come visit you in Canada, and as you're going through the restrictions, you'll see that it says immediate family members will be able to come. They will be able to reunite with you, provided that you actually are coming for an essential purpose. And it's that essential purpose that is the nightmare that we're dealing with. So if we go here and we look at applying for visitor visas, ETAs, or study or work permits from outside Canada, these are the instructions that a lot of you are going to be looking for. Okay, so you can see here, until further notice, most people can't travel to Canada, even if they have a valid visitor visa or electronic and ETA, okay? Unless you're exempt from the travel restrictions. And you can see that this applies from April 9th to the 29th, and visitor visas, ETA, study permits, work permits, okay? So you can see here, so it says if you fit under these categories, okay, don't even apply, okay? If you're not exempt from the travel restrictions, don't apply during the pause. You will not be able to come to Canada. So full stop there. When it comes to people that are inside Canada, and this may, this may come right back to the question that was asked. The reality is they are continuing to process applications from within Canada. It's just they have a far reduced staff because they are not able to have everybody actually in those offices because of the requirements for social distancing. And so because of that, understand that applications, you can still submit them from within Canada. They're still going to be processed. But outside of Canada, there's a pause until April 29th. Okay? All right. Hopefully that helps. And we'll put all of those links out there for you. And we'll try to get a blog post out there too that helps to clarify some of these things. But yes, if you're in Canada, you can still submit those. Okay? And those that are already in process are being processed. They're not stopping, but they're just in the queue. If you're outside of Canada and your applications are in the queue, I can guarantee that they are going to be delayed, and they're not going to be issuing approved work permits, study permits, visitor visas at a time period when travel is basically barred for those people. Okay, so expect significant delays if your application has already been submitted. Okay, KC asked this question from YouTube, and boy, I am OT, aren't I, guys? 1 hour and 12 minutes. Well, I'm just really trying to answer as many questions as I can. So, hi Mark, Wes evaluated my LLB as a 4-year bachelor's. Can I still claim points as a professional degree? IRCC website does say they consider it a professional qualification. LLBs are considered a professional credential. And so I'd have to look at it, Casey, in detail to actually confirm. But generally speaking, in those circumstances, that's exactly what it is. It is a professional degree. Okay. All right. Next one. And this is a huge shout out. My first Periscoper, Ram, doesn't have a question, but hey, this is cool. So it's actually going out to Periscope too. Mark, step-by-step course is the best. Thanks, Ram. I appreciate that. That's very kind. And I do think it is the best. I don't think there's anything on the whole of the internet that even touches it. It is awesome. And I'm also going to post this Karen is sad. So sorry, Karen. Okay. All right, let's try to get some questions, some people that have not yet been able to ask them. Okay, Jasmeet on YouTube says, I'm waiting for my passport request and my passport is valid till January 2021. With the lockdown everywhere, I'm not sure if I'll be able to renew my passport soon. How is this going to impact my PR? Jasmeet, you are a long ways out, my friend. So we're a long ways from there. We hope that the world will be different. We hope that you'll be able to extend your passport. But at this stage, that's a question that's so far out, I couldn't even answer it. I do know that from within Canada, IRCC is giving discretion to people who have expired passports and they're trying to extend their temporary stay in Canada. In those circumstances, you can provide a letter of explanation together with that expired passport saying that you're unable to extend it and that you will provide an updated copy of it once you receive your new passport. And IRCC has said they will not reject those applications. Okay, let's see here. This is a long one. It's a big one. Oh yeah, that's so big I can't even fit the screen. That's what happens when you submit a long question. Okay, let's see if we can tackle it. I'm going to try anyways. So Abin says, you're doing an awesome job. I have a query regarding my application for the Atlantic Pilot Program. Paper is under process. Haven't received AOR yet. I took my police certificate from India in Canada on January. I visited my home country in India on February, came back to Canada after 20 days. My question is my PCC still valid for my AIPP application, or should I take a PCC again from the High Commission in Canada as out of Canada for 20 days? I'm worried about it since I haven't received my AOR yet. 2 months now since application submitted. Short answer, my friend. Well, let me just delete this. That's a massive comment. That's interesting how that showed up. If your police certificate was issued in the last 6 months from the date you filed your paper-based application, then, and it's already submitted, then it's locked in. You're okay. It's not going to expire. Even if you go back, they could request an updated one by the time they get through or ready to be processing. You know, ironically, I'm not sure if 6 months is actually still going to be held to. I don't think it's possible. Even though the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program is designed to be fast-tracked like Express Entry, all of these are going to be longer, guys. They just are. Okay. All right. Let's see what we have here. Okay. Yeah. Igor's listed a link to the Canadian Immigration Institute and the courses there. So CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. Thank you, Igor. Okay. Let's see here. Himanshu says, hi, Mark. Is it advisable for someone with CRS score less than 400 to enter the EE pool and expect a miracle in the form of an EOI from a province in present scenario? Himanshu, there was a time a couple years ago where I told people routinely, don't waste your time. And at the time, I think it was like 420, I said. If your comprehensive ranking system score is under 420, then don't even waste your time. But the reality is, it all comes down to your work experience and your knock code. And some provinces like Alberta are actually looking for people in certain occupations. And you just don't know what that list is going to be. So what I do now with my clients is, I offer a what I call kind of a, it's like a profile review plus. So what I do now for my clients is I've got a reduced fee for helping people to actually submit their profiles in these circumstances and reviewing all their documentation that's available, reference letters, proof of funds, things like that in advance to make sure that they have everything supported and provable in their profile. Knowing that their scores are maybe under 400, but possibly they could be extended a notification of interest from one of the provinces because of their work history and not their comprehensive ranking system score. And you can see for Alberta in the last draw, there were some that were under 300, well, that were a little bit over 300 or right around 300 with some of the lowest ones in the last Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program. Okay, so in some cases, I do advise people to submit a profile. Okay. All right, next. Oh, so Ram says, I am a gamer. Okay, that's good. Well, there you go. And my reference to how my Express Entry complete step-by-step course to doing it yourself is like a complete walkthrough of the game called Express Entry. That's what it is. All right, awesome. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's connect with Tamor here. Says, I need one as I am a lawyer and have started my legal practice in Canada. The immigration law is one of my favorites. Please give me a chance so I can help others in the community. Thanks. Okay, I think Tamor is hoping to get maybe an access to the guide. And I've got lots of lawyers, a ton of immigration consultants that subscribe to it and use it. And so it's open for everybody. All right. Okay, guys, much to everyone's chagrin, I think I'm going to shut it down there. We're at 1 hour and 18 minutes. It was a long, long one. Thanks for all the awesome people who tuned in, who watched live on the number of channels, whether it was YouTube, whether it was Facebook, even Periscope, which is really cool. And if I could post it to others, I would do that as well. But at this stage, it's been great. I want to thank everybody who's participated. I want to extend once again just the best wishes and of health and safety in whatever country you are in. And I know you are spread all throughout the world that are watching these videos. My heart goes out to you, especially countries that don't have the healthcare system that we have in Canada or in some of the more developed countries. But you can see, even the US, it doesn't matter where you're at. If you're not being very, very careful, if you're not reducing the number of interactions one-to-one that you're having with people, the virus is insidious. It just spreads and spreads, and it's so scary. And my heart goes out to all the people in Canada who are in the various elderly care facilities across the country, who often are the hardest hit. People who are unable to really protect themselves, who are at the mercy of whoever comes in. And then once one person has it, it's just such a deadly, deadly virus. And so my heart goes out to all of you all over the world, whatever country you're in, whether whether it's Iran or Italy, Spain, the US, China, South America, all over the world. I hope that you and your families are safe, that you're staying well. And I just encourage you, as well as everybody else that's doing out there, just try to stay with your families. Stay close to your families. Don't go out. Don't socialize with other people. Just do it virtually, like I'm doing here. Set up your Google Hangouts. Set up your Skype. Set your Zoom up and have group calls with all of your family. We love to do that with our family. But at the end of the day, it's all of our responsibility to do the best we can. And I also want to extend just a heartfelt, I'm so sorry for those of you who are in some countries where you have no choice. The country that you're in doesn't have the same protections in place for you, where you're forced to work, you're forced to become exposed to the virus because you don't have a choice. And so my heart goes out to you. I know that we're not all in the same kind of countries. And it just makes me every day more and more grateful for the country that I live in. I'm so grateful to be in Canada. I'm so grateful for the amazing healthcare workers out there who are putting themselves out there on the front line. I'm grateful for the Canada Border Service Agency and those officers who are doing their best to make difficult decisions at a time in which the decisions they're making are having long-term ramifications for the health and well-being of Canadian citizens. Wow, what a tough job. And for everyone all over the world that is working in healthcare. I'm just so grateful for you. And all of you need to be likewise grateful for those who put their own lives on the line to help curb this terrible virus. So thanks for tuning in, you guys. Another Immigration Live Q&A. I appreciate so very much all of your support. And as always, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, it's interesting, this world we're in. With the border shut down, a lot of the work is the business work that I did is just not there. But what it has given me is an opportunity to free up a whole bunch more time to do these live Q&As on Canadian immigration, to do way more consults than I did before. It's allowed me to open that up. And many of you have so many questions. And so understand that option is always there for you. I'll just go back here quickly and just remind everybody about right here on my firm website. If you do want to book a consult, all you have to do is go to the firm website and click on the Start Here button and follow the prompts, and it'll take you to exactly where you can go. Remember, for the 25-minute consult, it's $210 Canadian, And we go out of our way to get all the information well in advance so that we're prepared to answer the questions that you have and to make the full use of that 25-minute consult. I also want to give a shout out to Parrot here, who is our web developers. On the bottom of our page, you'll see here, if I scroll up, you'll see that we have our own little what's it called, plug-in on our website about stopping the spread and just little tips. And I want to remind all of you, once again, wash your hands, cough into your elbow, don't touch your face, which is super hard for me because I swear my nose is so itchy all the time. Fortunately, I'm in this room. If I have an itchy nose and I have to scratch it, I then go and I make sure I wash my hands, even though we are basically self-isolating ourselves here, and I don't go out itching my nose and coming into contact with people. And then space. Remember, avoid crowds and stay inside. Stay inside. Okay. And then you can see there 1.9 million confirmed cases, 448,655 people recovered. Woo! And that is a running tally. So you can check that out on the bottom of our website. Okay, guys, Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, signing off, thanking you guys for all of your support and wishing you all the best as we navigate this crazy world of COVID-19. Take care, guys.